What up? And welcome back to erbsclass, man, for 5 more minutes of math. Now, you probably already watched a couple of completing square videos already, but now since you're a pro, let's talk about how we're going to use this. Okay, so one of the first ways that we can use completing a square is to solve quadratic equations. Let me put one up here so you see what I'm talking about. Okay, so one of the problems in solving a quadratic is if I have an x squared term and an x term, I can't just simply take square roots. Like if I was going to take the square root of x squared, that's fine, but I would have to take the square root of everything. Man, if this was a perfect square trinomial, I could rewrite it as a perfect square, something like this, right? And then I could take the square root of both sides because here I have a quantity squared. Notice I could, since this entire thing is being squared, I could take the square root, get rid of that exponent, and continue on my process. But only if this is a perfect square trinomial. Is it? I don't know. Half of 8 is 4. Remember our rules. That's a half of this number is square it. Half of 8 is 4. That's 16. This has to be 16. Yeah. But I know a trick. Let's talk. Let me do something real quick. Okay, so if this were to be a perfect square trinomial, this number needs to be 16. Now right now it's a 3, but I can get rid of that 3. I can subtract this 3 from both sides and put it on the other side. Let's do that. Good. So you see what I did? I took that 3 and I subtracted it, so now this is empty. So, you know in math I can do anything I want to an equation as long as I do it to both sides. I know what number would make this a perfect square trinomial. I can complete this square by putting a 16 here. Now notice I put 16 on both sides. Remember I said I can do anything I want as long as I do it to both sides of the equation. So if I need a 16 here, I can add a 16 here as long as I add a 16 over there also. So now this is the perfect square trinomial and I can factor it. Yeah, and of course 2 plus 16 is 18. And now I can take the square root of both sides. Yeah, of course the square root gets rid of that exponent. Yeah, and then I take the square root of 18, simplified and plus or minus. Bring that 4 over as -4. Yeah, remember you write that -4 in front of the plus or minus. And that's how we solve using completing the square. Let me show you one more time. Okay, here we go. So, is this a perfect square trinomial? It would really help me out a lot. Half of -6 is -3. -3 squared is 9. That's not a 9. So, let's get rid of this, leave a space, and then we'll complete our own square. Okay, good. Remember the number that we want there? Half of this number is -3, and -3 squared is good, positive 9. But don't forget, you have to add that positive 9 to both sides. Okay, this is a perfect square trinomial, and I can factor that. Good, just like that. Now that I have a perfect square, I can take the square root. And then one step later. Okay, well, I can't simplify the square root of 5, but don't forget the plus or minus. And now to get x alone, 9. Add 3 to both sides, making sure I put it in the right spot. Oh yeah. So that's what all of this was for. Now, completing the square has a couple of other uses, but this is one of them. I'll show you another one on the next video. Bye, guys.